My name is Sykora, and I am a managing partner with Gallatin Natural Resources. My role with the company is to underwrite all of the potential acquisitions we are looking to acquire. As a mineral owner, I'm sure you've probably wondered where a company like Gallatin comes up with the offers that we're able to pay for your tract. Some people probably think that offers are lowballs or just made out of thin air, when in fact at Gallatin we put substantial due diligence into every offer we make. There are a various number of factors that go into modeling an oil and gas mineral and royalty acquisition. One of the first and most obvious is the royalty that's on the lease subject to the tract we are looking to acquire. Obviously, a 15% royalty would be proportionally better and subject to a higher value than a 12.5% royalty. Another thing that's fairly obvious is the price of the underlying commodity. In Northeast Pennsylvania, where operators are drilling for natural gas, we look very closely at the price of natural gas and what the futures curve says about the future price of natural gas. As many of you are well aware, in 2016 we are seeing some of the lowest natural gas prices than we've seen in over a decade. Obviously, this takes a toll on what we are able to pay, as even the futures curve shows out through 10 years that natural gas prices are likely to not get over $3 an MCF. In addition to that, it affects the likelihood of future development for the operators in the area. It costs a substantial amount of money to drill an oil and gas well, and at $2, even $3 an MCF, most operators will choose to lay down rigs due to the lack of profitable economics on drilling a new well. We're seeing this play out right now in the Marcellus of Northeast Pennsylvania, where just a few years ago there was over 10 rigs running, and currently there are only 2 to 3. The operator on your lease is also very important. Unfortunately, not all operators are made equal. Some operators have proven themselves to be better at developing a resource than others. Not only that, some operators have done a better job managing their balance sheets over the last several years and find themselves in a better fiscal situation than others. Obviously, we'd be willing to pay more for someone with a lease under a quality operator with a good balance sheet versus someone who might be financially stressed and may not have the capital to develop that asset. The geological quality of the assets that we're looking at is clearly paramount to how much value we subscribe to a mineral interest. We evaluate this by looking at proprietary geologic information as well as the productive capacity of the offsetting wells to your tract. Obviously, if you're a mineral owner that already is receiving a royalty on wells drilled on your land, we look at the performance of those wells and how they have done since the inception of the well. Another thing that's important to realize is that when wells are drilled, they don't produce on a straight decline. To me, you may have seen when you received your first royalty check, it was quite high, and maybe for the next subsequent months and even a couple of years, they were still very high. But what wells do, specifically these shale wells that are being drilled in the Marcellus, is that the declines are quite steep at first and eventually level off to a fairly predictable and shallow decline. But at first the declines are very steep. Where your well is and the life cycle of that well is going to be very important in determining what we can pay. Just because your well is seeing excellent production in the first several months doesn't mean that production pace is going to be sustainable for years and years to come. Another consideration is development restrictions that might be subject to your tract in the area. Depending on offset wells and how other operators have already developed an area, development of your particular acreage might be restricted, and this is something we have to look at very closely, mapping a particular subject tract and making sure that it is available for full development in order for us to properly value it. As you can see, there's many factors that go into this, and whenever we are able to actually make an offer on a tract, it has been subject to many hours of hard work and very thorough due diligence. If you've received an offer from Gallatin Natural Resources and would like more information as to the inputs and assumptions that went into that number, we'd be happy to help you with that. If you would, please contact your Gallatin Natural Resources agent for more information.